नमस्कार, मैं अशोक व्यास। कार्यक्रम इनसाइट टुनाइट में आपका आज स्वागत करते हुए जब समुद्र की लहरों को देखने का अवसर कार्यक्रम के प्रारंभ में आया तो मुझे याद आया अपना बचपन। लहरों के साथ हम कहीं भी पहुंच जाते हैं। बचपन में हम सब कोई ना कोई चित्र बनाने की तरफ विशेष ध्यान देते हैं। मुझे याद है मैं लायन शेर की फोटो बनाने की कोशिश किया करता था देख देख कर। एंड आई थिंक लायंस हैव अट्रैक्टेड इमेजिनेशन ऑफ मोस्ट ऑफ अस। हम होना चाहते हैं शेर की तरह, पर जो एशियन लायन है उनकी क्या स्थिति है, इसके बारे में बात करने की ज़रूरत इस कार्यक्रम में जब हम मना रहे हैं 6 महीने पूरे होने का उत्सव इस पूरे सप्ताह। तो आज एक विशेष आयोजन है, समर्पित है उस शेर को जिसको याद करते हुए आपने ये पंक्तियां भी बचपन में सुनी होंगी अगर आप भारत में बड़े हुए हैं तो। हम भारत के भरत खेलते शेरों की संतान से, और कोई देश नहीं दुनिया में बढ़कर हिंदुस्तान से। पर क्या सचमुच ऐसा है? अगर हम उन जीवों की तरफ ध्यान दें जो धीरे धीरे सिमट रहे हैं, एंड समवेयर एज वी ग्रो वी अंडरस्टैंड, वी लर्न दैट वी ऑल आर रिलेटेड टू ईच अदर. And before I welcome panelists for this show, I also want to share and compliment this young girl who came as an illegal immigrant to America at the age of 10, and White House has given her the title of Champion of Change because she was active on various fronts, helping the community, working with API Youth, convening DACA Collaborative Planning Committee, and there are many activities to her credit. She is Miss Khanna. But taking this cue of being aware about wherever we are and considering ourselves as the citizen of this planet, what is our role with respect to other species? I have the pleasure of welcoming to this episode on Life, Link and Lion, first of all, someone who founded the Giving Back Foundation, Meera Gandhi. Meera ji, swagat hai. And there is a special reason for her to be joining us today here, what she has done in London also to take care of the lions of Asia. We'll talk about that, and somehow this little sitting that we have here reminds us that how interrelated we are in terms of different countries also, not only the species. And I have the pleasure of welcoming someone who has worked in the field of nature with Gir forest in particular, with scuba diving also, Nirav Parikh. Nirav ji, aapka swagat hai. So Nirav, taking a cue from your smile, I also remember you were fortunate to be working on various projects, and one was where Amitabh Bachchan was also involved. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
It was a coincidence that I was making a film for information department, and Amitabh Bachchan's Khushbu Gujarat ki campaign was scheduled for Gir Sanctuary National Park. As you know, when you do film shooting with Amitabh Bachchan, the crew is very big. So they had a huge crew, whereas when I was filming, it was a crew of 3 people, myself and my 2 children. I was handling the camera. So we got some excellent footage. So the crew besides us used to complain that Nirav is getting good shots, and whereas we, as such a big team, we are not getting any good shots. I mean, we are seeing lions, but usually, we cannot see their face. We don't get those compositions. So the officer said, why don't you ask Nirav to give he's also working on a government project. This is also a government project. Let's club it together and ask Nirav to give the footage to this project. And we agreed upon, and that's how all our footage, which was shot with a very small crew, candid shooting, and without disturbing the environment. I mean, as a wildlifer, we maintain certain disciplines so that we don't disturb the lions and the natural settings. I mean, in the anxiety of getting shots, I mean, you're not supposed to bait, you're not supposed to keep a live bait, and a lot of disciplines are required.
As a moderator, I do disturb, so I disturbed you, and now I want to share this visual with Amitabh Bachchan from Gir Forest. Somewhere maybe there are some clips that you also shot. Let's take a look.
ये है गिरनार पर्वत, हिमालय से भी पहले से खड़ा है। इसकी गोद में बसा है गिर का जंगल, भारत का एकमात्र जंगल जहां राज करते हैं 400 से भी ज्यादा एशियाटिक लायंस, यानी बबर शेर। राजा और प्रजा का अनोखा रिश्ता है यहाँ, क्योंकि शेरों के साथ इस जंगल में रहते हैं सैकड़ों इंसान। यूं लगता है जैसे शेर इंसान की रखवाली कर रहे हैं और इंसान शेरों की। अभी तो गिर में शेरों की आबादी बढ़ रही है। सदियों से भारत के स्वाभिमान का प्रतीक है ये शेर, और इनका घर है गिर। यहाँ खुशबू है मेल मिलाप की, पत्ते पेड़ों की, शेरों की। यहाँ खुशबू है गुजरात की। अगर आप शेर दिल हैं तो रहिए शेरों के साथ में, कुछ दिन तो गुजारिए गुजरात में।
आप गुजरात में कुछ दिन गुजारें या न गुजारें, लेकिन प्रकृति के साथ कुछ दिन क्या हर दिन खास तौर पर गुजारना आपके लिए अच्छा है, ऐसा हम अलग अलग दिशाओं से सुनते आए हैं। एंड नाउ व्हाइल वी आर सो मच सराउंडेड बाय ऑल दीज गैजेट्स, be it smartphone, computer, laptop, tablet, we don't have time even to interact with our pets. How is our mental state while you are playing with a parrot or you have a cat or a dog at home? So we'll go towards lion, but let's talk about our relationship with other animals. So Meera ji, do you have any fond memories of being in close proximity of any of the pet anywhere, at your home, someone else's home?
Well, I grew up with a dog, and I love dogs. In fact, last week I was in Delray with my sister and her family and my two nieces, and we passed a pet store, and I absolutely fell in love with a dog. And my nieces were like, "Meera Mausi, you need a little dog right now." So it's funny you bring that up. I'm very much I want to have a little dog at home. Now that the kids are all in college, I think it's time for me to have a little dog.
And let's just stay there, being in nature and interacting with animals, or even just observing birds. Have you found yourself enjoying those still moments?
Very much so, very much so. I find that as my life gets more busy, I think that when I listen to birds, I actually really listen to them, and I actually feel so much calmer. In fact, this time when I was at the zoo in London, I was amazed at the majesty of the lions. I mean, it was really, really incredible. Just amazing.
तो आपने शेर कब देखा पिछली बार? मुझे बहुत समय हुआ, पर मुझे लगता है sometimes we should become child, or like children we should go to some zoo and at least revisit those memories which probably are somewhere sleeping in our mind. But these memories are not sleeping with Nirav. He's very active. And the idea of working with your children, going to Gir Forest, quite an amazing idea. So share with us, how was that project of working on Green Soldiers?
Yeah, Green Soldiers project was designed basically for child-to-child communication, wherein I wanted my children, they were fortunate to enjoy the natural setting. I mean, viewing lions. I mean, because I'm a passionate filmmaker, and they get chance to visit Gir Sanctuary with me.
But your children grew up in Gir?
No, they have not grown up with Gir, but they have always grown up with the footage and the research material back home, which I bring from Gir. So we always analyze the footage, and they were passionate about it. And this was a coincidence that we just went for. Actually, you know what happened when we were in Gir? for our filming schedule. There was a huge crew of Amitabh Bachchan. So I told my children, forget this trip. We are not going to get anything because there's too much of disturbance and overcrowding. So let's not disturb the environment. We can come again. And coincidentally, we went to a corner of where lions may be there, may not be there. And fortunately, accidentally, we found this sequence. And we shot this complete story of more than 86 different gestures of social behavior, that too in 3 days' time.
Amazing.
And my children, they were fortunate. First thing, we never knew what is happening around us. We just kept on filming, and because I had a sight of what's happening, my camera was always focused on various social behaviors and gestures of like Matru Bhagini Sambandh इसमें दिखाया गया है. I mean territorial fights दिखाई गई है. Juveniles को अपना बाप अपने बेटे को टेरिटरी से बाहर भगाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, so that the two mothers can raise 4 more cubs. I mean, the inner sense of that particular fight, that social drama, which we saw in 3 days' time and filmed it. We were fortunate that we had the camera in focus.
So we are fortunate that you have done it, and we have some clips from that Green Soldier where we'll also be meeting both your son and your daughter, right?
Yes.
What are their names?
Devashri and Parth.
So Devashri and Parth, here we are with you. So let's watch.
Save Mother Earth, green cover for the next generation. Live and let others live in harmony with nature.
Gir, the home of roaring cats, preserves man's natural habitat. The ecological diversity of the area and the high regeneration capacity of ecosystem continue to remind man of the grandeur of his natural habitat. The sequence of happenings, events in Gir, namely historical reverence enjoyed, degradation, lion and other ungulates population shrinkage, alert actions, subsequent regeneration leading to lions, lions, lions at many places in Gir is, to put it mildly, a confidence restorer. As the sun dips beyond the vast horizon, and darkness throws its dark cloak across the forest, a deep-throated roar reverberates through the still night, a truly awe-inspiring experience. This lion's roar fills man with untold happiness.
Hello, I'm Green Soldier Devashri Parikh.
Hello, I'm Green Soldier Parth Parikh.
Our parents, Nirav and Swati, are involved in environment conservation and natural history filmmaking way before our birth. Do you know something? My mom says that I came to Gir Forest for the first time when I had turned 1 and just started walking. Today, I'm 15.
A story about social behavior of Asiatic lion in Gir forest.
We had a privilege to be witness. While my father was filming from a hideout, we were in the ecotourism zone on route number 2. Of a sudden, Imtiaz and Parth came up with a location where we had witnessed lions fighting over a kill.
Don't lion! देखना अभी! Boom! दोनों सुबह की तरह झगड़ा करेंगे.
I called for Dad to go with us, and we succeeded to film the story. Lions Pride members are the testimony of this film, and we, the testimony of human society, feel proud by presenting this film. We are sure will impart empowerment of knowledge to the kids innocent about their child.
So welcome back. You're watching Inside Tonight और ये जो आप देख रहे थे लाइफ लिंक लायन में ग्रीन सोल्जर फिल्म. Fortunately, the one who is behind the making of this film is with me, Nirav. Congratulations. This looks great. And let me ask Meera, how you felt watching lions' social behavior so intimately shown in this clip?
It's amazing that, as you said in the beginning of the show, that we're all so intertwined and we're all interdependent and we're all in many ways so similar. We just can't forget that. And these lions are so majestic. It's really sad that they're fast disappearing and there are so few left because they're so inspiring. And it actually, as you watch this, it really it brings a certain dignity to your own life. And it reminds me of a saying that those who walk with dignity must never walk in a hurry. And if you look at the lions, they always take their time.
Wow. Those who walk with dignity, they should always have some sort of patience or a kind of self-assurance which prevents them from rushing into things. But that's what we end up doing many times. And I want to rush to news headlines quickly. Few of them, not all of them. And especially to bring out the contrast in the world that we have made for ourselves. Just on 15 June, there was a news from Britain wherein the Prime Minister said that we have failed to promote British values. And he was saying that we need to be far more muscular in promoting British values and the institutions that uphold them. So, British values, muscular way, Britain. And fast forward 3 days, 18 June, there is another news coming from Pakistan, which is again very, very disturbing news. And I don't know whether there is any link between these kind of ideas that are floating in our world. And actually, this is what has happened is because of the offensive of Taliban in Pakistan, over 30,000 people have been forced to leave their homes and they are fleeing for safer areas. So we have all this turmoil, and then again, America is probably finding itself to be intervening in the situation of Iraq again. So amongst all these areas where human beings are not working in harmony with each other, there is another orbit where, as human species, we have to be focusing on how we are relating to other species. And the reason we are talking about lions today is because this beautiful image that you see behind me, how many of them are there on this planet, these Asian lions? Let me ask Nirav for the figure.
As far as the administrative figures are concerned, there are 411 lions. But so
on that note of 411, if we do nothing, probably it's going to reduce. And is that enough? Why we have reached to this stage where such beautiful, majestic, inspiring lion are reduced to this number of 411? We'll talk about that right after this break. Lions, and when we talk about Asian lions, we talked. The number is only 411 or so now. What is it that brought Meera Gandhi to London's zoo and work towards helping these lions? How all this happened?
Well, I was actually at a tiger dinner, and James Wren, who is the director of the London Zoo, asked me to co-chair an event for the Asian lions. He said there are only 400 left in the world, and all of them are in Gujarat, and we really would like an Indian co-chair to help us raise awareness and raise money for this cause. And the London Zoo has thrown themselves behind the Asian lions, and they are raising 5.6 million to support the efforts at Gir Forest. And they are also launching a project where there will be an exchange of lions between the Gir Forest and the London Zoo, and they will be shipped to the London Zoo, 10 or 12 at a time, for the purposes of breeding. And they are creating an incredible safe haven where they hope that they will breed lions and release them back.
So now, just we want to share this small clip from London and the ambience of the London Zoo where this event was organized. Let's take a look.
Thank you. And when I was a kid, growing up on the edge of Bristol and indeed coming to Regent's Park Zoo, it was moments like that that kindled my passion for the natural world and convinced me that I had to do something to make a difference.
When I was first asked to support CSL, I had just walked around the zoo with some of the team, and I realized immediately what an incredibly special place it was.
So that was an event which was raising funds for Asian lions, and the target was $5.6 million. Now, before I go back to Meera, Nirav, you have been to Gir Forest so many times. I think if you close eyes, you can imagine a lot of trees and the whole place very well. So tell me how this money might come handy to preserve them. And even before you go there, tell me, what is the real threat?
The real threat is from the outsiders. Like tiger conservation, if you see the tiger conservation success story and the lion conservation success story, both are on the opposite side. Tiger conservation, the local people's participation doesn't exist because the requirement for protein and the local population, they are consuming the food of tigers. Whereas in Gujarat, the people of Gujarat, because of their non-vegetarian food habits, they are not consuming the herbivorous animals. So there are enough prey base for the lions to live and survive. I mean, as you know, Gir Sanctuary National Park, which is a very, very small area of just 1,412 square kilometers. Whereas lions, today, they exist in much broader area. If you're looking at 411 lions, only 200 lions are in the so-called national park, the natural zoo.
The rest are open to be poached.
The rest all are open around the fields, around the villages, in the villages.
But we were talking earlier that the poachers who actually want the lions, they pay a local, and they in cahoots with the local, they pay maybe the equivalent of $1,000, and that on the open market in China for Chinese medicine or wherever is worth $100,000. As a result, these lions are really they're open to be preyed on. It's really a big issue.
So now I repeat that question now, Nirav. For a layman, it is difficult to understand how any amount of dollars would actually help, because I mean, as one would think that government of India, government of Gujarat has enough of funds and resources, so they need to have a plan, and that should be implemented properly. So do you see any way that additional funding would definitely help?
See, as far as the biggest issue right now is, I mean, if you're looking at funds, no funds can conserve lions. Here, the people themselves, I mean, even if you don't have funds, they are ready to conserve it, and they have been conserving the lions. And that's why the population is increasing, is on a complete, I mean, if you look at, we can definitely look at the figures, and the area which lions have newly acquired in last 20 years is 5 times larger than the area which is basically, I mean, demarked for lions, which is Gir Sanctuary National Park. So, I mean, the lions which have migrated out of Gir Sanctuary National Park, they need medication. A lot of funding is required for extra parental care for the lions and the people around. So, I mean, if a sort of a sustainable development plan is designed to use these funds for the people and the lions, I think it would more.
I think somewhere
better.
it comes back to how we treat all the spaces around us. So in order to increase that sensitivity and a kind of communication, a little bit more sensitizing our kids as they are growing up towards the wonderful world of animals and whatnot. So from that point of view, keeping it a little broad, Meera ji, what would you think, which way it would be helpful?
Well, with my recent involvement with the London Zoo, for example, the London Zoo is spending, of the 5.6 million, half of that is actually being used to increase the lion enclosure. It's going to triple in size, and they're going to bring more lions there. So I think when the young people go to the London Zoo and they see these lions in their natural habitat, they will develop a greater appreciation for these. I think in that it's going to help. I also think that by keeping these majestic animals alive and creating programs from youth, like Green Soldier, you are a soldier, you are a green soldier, you have to fight to keep the planet green, you have to fight to keep these animals alive. They have a right to be on the planet as much as we do. I think all this is definitely going to go a long way to sensitize not only the adults but also future generations to come.
Now, during the election season, we saw a lot of different type of creative ways of connecting with the voters, potential voters. And Bharatiya Janata Party is known to have been instrumental in launching a very creative, well-crafted, and as Congress members said, well-funded campaign. And some of the posters that came my way from social media had picture of lion and Narendra Modi together. So I don't know, some people use their imagination or this was conscious, but taking that image in my mind, I go to you, Nirav, you come from Gujarat. So as far as animal life is concerned, what have you observed about the approach of now Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
As far as, comparing lion is an icon of king. I mean, if you compare it with tigers and if you look at the social behavior of tiger and lion, they live a social life. Tigers, they don't live a social life. Lion lives a life for all the species. I mean, that's why, it is considered as a king. And so maybe, if you compare tiger and lion, I would say lions are more socially amiable creatures. They live in a joint family. They have a value for joint family. Whereas we have documented, tiger killing her own cubs. Cannibalism is definitely there in lions too, but that is basically for the pride leadership. But in tigers, you don't see a pride. A pride is like a group of tigers. They always live a very, isolated life, even while raising the cubs. And even two tigresses, they'll never be together. Whereas you'll always see two lionesses raising each other's cub. Like, call it Matru Bhagini Sambandh, Mausi Bua, and that's a whole fight about. I would say lion, they demonstrate a true character of a king. And that's why, Modi ji must have selected lion as an icon.
No, maybe he selected somebody else.
Not tiger.
Right. So I just want to share the height of a typical lion is probably 1 meter. And the longest that they measured was probably 2.92 meter long.
Yes.
So, but another interesting aspect is the average weight of a lion is 110 to 120 kilogram, whereas the average weight of a lioness is 160 to 190 kilogram. How is that?
Yeah, lionesses are a little bit more longer, and lion usually they look bigger because of the mane. जो उसका, it's all hair. उसमें muscles तो कुछ है नहीं है. But if you see a lion, it has a mane, जो बाल उसके जो बिखरे हुए होते हैं, जिसकी जो उसकी वजह से वो बड़ा दिखता है. But usually, if you see, the females are much bigger than the lions, and they are much lengthier than the lions.
This film that you made, Monarchy in Gir Forest,
yeah.
Singh Samrajya, is it the same, the earlier sort of a promo that we showed?
Yeah, you saw the promo of that film, and this is a 40-minute film which is narrated by Devashri in English, and Hindi, Gujarati, it is narrated by a voiceover artist. And this film contains approximately 86 different gestures of social blending as a family, as a joint family, and how they behave as a joint family. This was shot, accidentally it was shot in 3 days time with my 20 years of experience. We could see, and then later on in the post-production part, we figured out that this shot goes with this particular behavior. That's where my kids and we all work together to educate other children.
We want to see a part of this film also, but before we go there, Meera Gandhi in Mumbai made a film about the Giving Back Foundation. So if you imagine the difference of making a film in the city and in the jungle, what would be an interesting contrast?
I think, well, in the jungle, I mean, a lot of it was pretty spontaneous because you had to watch. My film was about 10 people that were giving back. In some ways, I mean, it's similar. It's people giving back to the causes that inspired them or that helped them survive. I mean, Kerry Kennedy talks about human rights. I mean, all the Kennedys, were targets of a sort. So she talks about human rights. Hillary Clinton talks about women leadership and girl leadership and the importance of that. Bono in the film talks about the importance of the next frontier, the African countries. I don't know. I think that anytime you make a film, and I found this when I was editing my film, that you see so much more through the lens of a camera than you do when you just talk to a person. And it's interesting because I did all the interviews myself. I spoke to people like this. But when I was in the editing studio and I was looking at it through the lens of the camera, I noticed so many more nuances. I noticed so much more passion. I saw so much more sadness. I saw so much more angst. It's very interesting when you look at it from behind a camera.
So there is a detached look when you look at it from the camera's viewfinder. A little bit detachment probably helps in appreciating the beauty of all that is there in the frame in front of you. So let us appreciate a little bit of what Nirav has created in the Singh Samrajya.
જગત જૂની સોરઠ ધરા અને આ ગઢ જૂનો ગિરનાર એવા હાવજડા હે જલ પીવે જ રે એવા નમણા નરને નાર.
First time when I had seen lion in the wild, the thought that came to my mind is that this is one animal which is really fearless. That is what I think makes it look like a king, and it is the king of the jungle. It has the psyche and the instinct of the king.
એને ખબર છે કે આપણે એટલું જ જોઈએ છીએ, તો આપણે બીજાને કોઈ નડવાની જરૂર નથી. કિંગનો જે રાજાનો સ્વભાવ શું હોય છે કે બીજાને મદદ કરવી. બીજાને હેલ્પ કરવી. તો આનો એક જ આશય છે કે હું રાજા છું, તો મારે જે ખાવા જોઈએ છે એ તો મને મળી જાય છે, તો મારે બીજે કરવાની જરૂર શું છે? એ તો ભાઈ રાજા એટલે એ રાજા જ છે.
સિંહ આવી જાય તો જોવા માટે રાજકોટથી પણ લોકો આવે છે. ચલો સિંહ જો આપણે કોઈ વાંધો નથી, ખેતરમાં છે જોઈ શકે, એને પાછળ દોડો કે એને ડિસ્ટર્બ કરો, તો ડિસ્ટર્બ કરીને એ આપણી ઉપર હુમલા કરીને આવે તો એ આપણી માટે બહુ ખરાબ વાત છે. રાજુલામાં એક માણસે પોતે લોકોને લાવીને આગળ વધ્યો, સિંહ અને સિંહ મીટિંગમાં હતા, સિંહ એને પકડી લઈ ગયો, આપણે બદનામ થાય છે.
એ સિંહ અહીંયા આવીને પાણી પીતા હોય, હું ન્યાય કુંડી મેં પાણીમાં જલ કૂતરાની કોડે ડખર ડખર થતું તો જાગી જાય, આમ જોવે તો હા બે પીતા હોય ત્યાં, એ તો કે ડર નહીં લાગે, એમ તો ડર નહીં લાગે.
This is Asiatic lion. This was at one point in time was found all over Asia. This is not really Gujarati lion or Indian lion. This is Asiatic lion. Today, the Asiatic lion is confined to this part of the world, this part of Saurashtra. They are now stabilizing outside the sanctuaries and national parks. The challenges are really creating awareness in the minds of people, because this is going to be more in contact with the people. Now, with the conservation efforts, the population is increasing, population dynamics is changing.
So that's an incredible film about the social behavior of lion and how we can increase our awareness, our sensitivity, and enriched by the presence of all the beauty and bounty that nature has provided us, also demands our conscious attention to preserve this beauty. And how we are working, what marks would we give to ourselves as human beings on this front? We'll talk about that right after this break. वेलकम बैक, यू वाचिंग इनसाइड टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास. और आज हम बात तो शेरों की कर रहे हैं, मगर जब हम शेरों की बात करते हैं तो समवेयर देयर इज अ सेंस ऑफ एक्सीलेंस. एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्सीलेंस फ्रॉम लंडन, आई हैव दिस गुड न्यूज़ for those who enjoy the achievements of people of Indian origin. So Queen Elizabeth II has honored knighthood with this title to a Professor Tejinder Virdi for his contribution in the field of science. And there is another bit of news from London that tells us that Prince William is more popular than Queen, and having her residence in New York and London and maybe some other countries as well. So Meera, Gandhi, when you come from London and talking about the excellence, how excellently we as human beings are taking care of our responsibility towards animals.
I think as humans, there has to be more awareness. I mean, as an Indian, I was not fully aware that there were only 400 of these Asian lions left. And I think that as an Indian and as a human, I should take more responsibility towards it, which is why I've thrown myself behind this cause. And I think that as we hear about these things, all of us, I don't know, we have to in some way take responsibility. And I think the way to do that is, whether you're doing it with a life situation or an animal cause or a human cause, is that whatever small situation you take and you are placed into it, try to leave that situation a little bit better.
तो अगर आपके पास कोई ऐसा अनुभव है जहां आपके भीतर का जानवरों के प्रति प्रेम प्रकट हुआ हो, या आपको लगा कि ऐसा मुझे करना चाहिए था और मैं कर ना पाया, एंड इफ यू वांट टू शेयर, फील फ्री टू कॉल अस. पर जानवरों के साथ साथ प्रकृति के साथ संबंध को लेते हुए स्कूबा डाइविंग जैसे जो एडवेंचरस स्पोर्ट्स हैं, दे आर ऑल्सो बिकमिंग वेरी वेरी popular. People look forward to enjoying those experiences. लेकिन अब मेरे कुछ लोगों ने फिल्म जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा देखी होगी, तो आपको याद होगा कि कैटरीना कैफ का जो कैरेक्टर है वो इंस्ट्रक्टर है, एंड दैट सीन वेयर ऋतिक रोशन describes the joy of being under the water. That joy is a part of day-to-day life, more or less, for the gentleman, filmmaker Nirav Parikh, sitting near me. Tell me how scuba diving ने आपको attract कर लिया?
In 91, I passed out my film school in 88, 89 from Michigan, and then I was fortunate to make a film on Marine National Park in Gujarat, on the coast of Gujarat. At that time, there was, we felt that we need scuba diving skills to go deeper and explore the wealth of nature what we have near the coast of Gujarat. And then gradually I developed my skills, abilities to know, because it's a very scary thing. At that time I was 21.
I'll come back to you. Meera, I want to ask you, we talked about that Gir forest, and this guy was near lions with his kids. So one would feel that there must be an element of fear or danger is right there. And the same with scuba diving. So do you think different people have different kind of a take on their willingness to put themselves in harm's way?
Absolutely, because danger is perceived. So it depends on how we perceive it. Once, for example, I was in Bali with my kids, and the guide stopped at a certain place and said, "Why don't you jump into the water?" So all the kids, they jumped in from the boat. So my husband said, "Why don't you do it, because you love doing it?" At that point in time, I don't know, I was sort of scared for some reason. But after that, when I finished the vacation, I was so annoyed that I didn't do it. After that, anytime we've gone somewhere and we've had to parasail or jump out or feed an animal, or I've always done it, because I feel like you just got to take advantage of the moment.
Wonderful. So you have to do away with your fear, and let me take a call and see what we have waiting for us there. Hello, ITW Live.
हेलो।
हाँ जी, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
आप गए हैं क्या गिर के जंगलों में कभी?
गया हूँ, मगर यहाँ पे चैनल 779 आती है ना, चैनल 779
जी,
उसके ऊपर गिर लायन का सब दिखाते हैं, अफ्रीकन लायन, एलिफेंट, अपना इंडियन टाइगर, सबके वो फिल्म बहुत देखने लायक है।
अच्छा,
देखनी चाहिए आपको।
बिल्कुल
779 पर दिखाते हैं बहुत बार।
अच्छा, आप ये बताइए कि जो संख्या एशियन लायन की 400 के आसपास रह गई है, इसको और कम नहीं हो, इसके लिए क्या किया जा सकता है?
जंगल बढ़ाना चाहिए, जंगल।
अच्छा,
उसका रहने की जगह बहुत बड़ी होनी चाहिए, अब छोटी है।
तो उस दिशा में होपफुली कुछ कार्यवाही होगी, और आज का दिन
करनी चाहिए।
जी जी। तो आपके साथ ये बांटते हुए कि कल हमारा कार्यक्रम एकदम अलग स्वरूप लिए हुए होगा पंडित जसराज जी की उपस्थिति में, और इस पूरे सप्ताह
सुना है
जी,
जसराज जी को वो हनुमान टेम्पल में 3-4 बार सुना, बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा गाते।
वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड। तो आपने कॉल किया, और आपका कोई संस्मरण, कभी जानवर आपने पाले हो या किसी जानवर की जान बचाई हो या आपको अच्छा लगा हो कोई जानवर का साथ?
मेरे पास एल्सेशन कुत्ती थी।
अच्छा,
तो वो
आप टीवी का वॉल्यूम कम करके बात करें।
कोबरा के साथ वो भी मर गया, कोबरा भी मर गया।
ओह, वेरी सैड, वेरी सैड। तो आपने कॉल किया, तो हमारी जो संवेदना है वो इस बात को लेते हुए आपके साथ हैं।
लायन बहुत सोशल एनिमल है, लायन बहुत सोशल एनिमल है।
जी जी जी, थैंक्स फॉर योर कॉल सर। तो वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट डेंजर, एंड देन आई विल गो बैक टू मीरा। ये जो डरने वाली बात है, उसको ओवरकम करना कभी कॉन्शियसली होता है, कभी अनकॉन्शियसली हो जाता है। इन योर केस आई थिंक यू मेड नो कॉन्शियस एफर्ट्स। कभी डर लगा आपको?
नहीं, हालांकि बाद में डर लगता है। आफ्टर यू एक्ट एंड आफ्टर यू एक्वायर द फुटेज, एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि ना, उस टाइम पे जब डरने वाली डरावनी सिचुएशन होती है ना, तब व्यू फाइंडर के अंदर आंख होती है, और लायन यहाँ तक आ जाता है तो पता ही नहीं चलता कि इतना बड़ा लायन है, और फिर बाद में जैसे जैसे आँख खोलते हैं और उसको सामने देखते हैं, एक्सीडेंटली जब अगर चल के आता है तो ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं कभी कि हम उसको नज़दीक जाने की कोशिश करें जब बच्चों के साथ में हो, तो आउट ऑफ हर ओन फियर शी विल गिव अ अलार्म कॉल, शी विल नॉट अटैक, बट देन यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट दीज आर द लिमिट्स, कि ये लिमिट से आगे जाएंगे तो आगे थप्पड़ पड़ेगी।
तो ये लिमिट को देखते हुए मैं अब फिर स्कूबा डाइविंग की तरफ जाना चाहता हूँ। हाँ। कितने फीट नीचे उसमें जाना होता है?
स्कूबा डाइविंग में परमिटेबल लिमिट एज पर योर गियर्स इज कंसर्न, जिस हिसाब से आपके जो गियर्स वगैरह, जो सेफ लिमिट इज 30 मीटर्स। बियॉन्ड 30 मीटर्स यू रिक्वायर वेरी वेरी स्पेशल स्किल्स।
और ये कौन से पानी में आप करते हैं इंडिया में?
इट डिपेंड्स। हालांकि गुजरात का जो पानी है वो मर्की वाटर है, which requires special skills, whereas पानी जब क्लियर होता है तो डर नहीं लगता है, लेकिन गुजरात का स्पेशल वाटर इज मर्की वाटर। एक्चुअली इट इज अ ब्लेसिंग. All the whale sharks, dolphins, dugongs, they come to breed here because it's a shelter and it's a hiding place. When they raise their pups, they cannot be seen, whereas in open clear water they can be seen. So इसकी दो साइड है. I mean, if I look at it as a scuba diver, I need clean water. But गुजरात का जो coast है is basically a little bit of murky water. So that is a blessing for whale sharks and other species to come all the way from Australia, Madagascar and other places, raise their cubs, raise their pups and go back.
तो ये सारी बातें सुनने में भी अच्छा लगता है, कहीं ना कहीं किसी ने फर्स्ट हैंड उस चीज़ को एक्सपीरियंस किया है, ऐसा आदमी अपना अनुभव बताता है तो भी एक रिफ्रेशिंग सी फीलिंग आती है. पर हम पहले बात एडवेंचर और हमारी स्पिरिट टुवर्ड्स डेंजर्स के बारे में कर रहे थे. तो जो खतरों से खेलने वाली स्पिरिट है मीरा जी, एंड वी ऑलवेज व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट बिजनेस people, then also we say that risk bearing capacity is important. So do you feel that adventurous sport somewhere helps someone in becoming a successful businessman?
I think so, but I think that you have to take a risk. You have to be a vision. If you're going to take risk, you also have to have a vision. So the visionaries that take risk are always more successful than people who take risk without a vision. So I think it's important, even when you take a risk, to have a vision. And then my other take on that is what Eleanor Roosevelt said. You must do the things you think you cannot do. Because sometimes you think you just cannot do it. And after you do it, you think, oh my God, it really wasn't that hard. Or it wasn't that bad. Or it wasn't that dangerous. And these are just some philosophies that work.
So you must do the things that you think you cannot do. इस बात को लेते हुए हम इस कार्यक्रम के समापन की तरफ बढ़ते हुए जो फिर से याद करते हैं संख्या एशियन लायंस की और उनको बचाने के लिए जो उपाय किए जा रहे हैं. और हमें ऐसा कभी कभी लगता है कि हम कर क्या सकते हैं. So many times people think कि मेरी जो बेसिक नीड्स हैं वो पूरी होंगी फिर मैं ये सब बातों के बारे में सोचूंगा. So from that point of view, Nirav, you probably have many friends who are of similar mindset. Very briefly, what would be your message to them?
My message is that the local population out in Gujarat, let us give the credit of lion conservation, and the lions which have reached to its carrying capacity within the forest, they have migrated outside Gir Sanctuary National Park, and man and animal, they are surviving together. Lion conservation is not imposed on them, whereas tiger conservation is imposed on the local population. Whereas lion conservation is carried out by the people by themselves, not as a rule or as a enforcement law. It is within their culture and they are conserving it. And I'm definitely sure that, you can imagine a situation, lion and lionesses with their cubs around your field, and a person saying that today I'm going to go and sleep in peace because lions are there to protect my field and it won't allow the herbivorous animals to come and damage my crop.
Wow.
So this is a sample of coexistence. They understand that we can coexist, whereas we urbanites, if we find एक कुत्ता भी जो अगर काटने वाला कुत्ता भी, स्ट्रे डॉग भी अगर काटने लगता है तो हम उसको मार देते हैं.
So on that note of importance of coexistence और किस तरह से जानवर हमारे लिए ज़रूरी हैं और हम भी जानवरों के लिए ज़रूरी हैं, और इस ज़रूरत को समझते हुए जिस तरह मीरा गांधी ने लंदन जू के साथ मिलकर एशियन लायन के साथ फंड रेजिंग का कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया, उसके लिए उनका धन्यवाद और उनको बधाइयाँ। और कितनी सुंदर फिल्म बनाने वाले नीरव पारिक हमारे साथ आए लायंस के बारे में इतनी महत्वपूर्ण जानकारी के साथ, उनका धन्यवाद। और हमारे साथ बने रहकर उत्साह बढ़ाने के लिए आप सभी का आभार। अशोक व्यास को अनुमति दें। नमस्कार।